Hello 7th graders. This is a review of adding and subtracting fractions. The most important thing that we need to remember when adding or subtracting fractions is that we need to find common denominators of our fractions, and then we can just add or subtract the numerators. Denominators stay the same. Okay. You can pause here, make sure you write this down in your notes. Let's look at some examples. Example number 1, we have 3/5 plus 1/5. All right, we have common denominators already of 5, so that means we can just add straight across in our numerators. Okay, so our denominator stays the same, and 3 plus 1 is 4. Okay, so 3/5 plus 1/5 will give us 4/5. Example number 2, 3/8 plus 1/4. All right, we do not have common denominators, so we need to work to find a common denominator. And in this situation, there's a couple ways you can go about it. If you can recognize the denominators and know that they are multiples of each other, then you can find a common denominator that way. Or the other way is to just multiply the denominators toward each other, and that will give you a common denominator. For this one, I know that 4 goes into 8 2 times, so I'm going to use 8 as the new denominator. Okay, so we know that 4 times 2 gives us 8, so we need to do that to both the numerator and the denominator. So now we have 3/8 plus 2/8, and now we can just add across and we get 5/8. Okay, so 3/8 plus 1/4 is 5/8, or 3/8 plus 2/8 is equal to 5/8. All right, example number 3. Here's a situation where we have a mixed number. We have whole numbers as well as fractions. Okay, so we're going to have to do a couple different things as we solve this problem. 5/4 plus 7, or 5 and 1/4 plus 7 and 4/5. Okay. Another way we can break this apart, and we can look at it as 5 plus 1/4, and then we'll do plus 7 plus 4/5. Okay, now that allows us to look at all of these numbers as separate numbers, and our fractions, we need to make sure that we get them in common denominators. Okay, so in this situation, if we think about numbers, what 4 and 5 both go into, they don't go into each other very easily. So this time I'm just going to multiply them together, and we know that 4 times 5 is 20. Okay, so our new denominator is going to be 20. So I'm going to multiply this. 4 times 5 gives me 20, so I'm going to do that to both the numerator and denominator. And 5 times 4 gives me 20. Okay, so now we have 5 plus, and we're working with 20ths now, and 1 times 5 is 5, plus 7, and again we're changing the denominator to 20ths, so 5 times 4 and 4 times 4 will give me 16. Okay, now we have like denominators, and we can just add. We can start with the whole numbers, adding the whole numbers together. So 5 plus 7 will give us 12. So now we have 12 as our whole number, and our denominator is 20. And 5 plus 16 will give us 21. All right, now we're in a real interesting situation because we have a mixed number and an improper fraction in the same situation. Okay, so if we want to get this in the correct form, we would need to make this a mixed number completely without an improper fraction. Okay, so if we take out the 20 20ths, because that's equal to 1, our answer would look like 13 and 1/20 left over. Okay, now if we may be a little bit confused, by all of these numbers down here, and I'm going to show you 12 and 21/20. So remember, when we're dealing with fractions, we can figure out how many wholes are in this mixed number or this improper fraction by dividing the denominator by the numerator. So we would have 21 into 20, or excuse me, 20 into 21. Okay, and now we know that 20 goes into 21 one time, so that's our whole number. So we would have 20, and then we subtract, and we're left with 1. So then this would be our new numerator. I'm going to put an N here for numerator, and this stays as our D for denominator. So then we would have 1 and 1/20. And if we add that 1 to the 12 here, we get 13 and 1/20. All right, it's your turn. Go ahead and pause here, do these problems on your own, and come back and see how you did. Okay, so we have 2/9 plus 1/3. We do not have common denominators, so we need to create them. In this situation, I know that 3 goes into 9, so I'm going to use 9 as my new denominator. Okay, so we're going to multiply this by 3. We need to do the same to the top. So now we have, we have 2/9 plus 3/9. And now we have common denominators, and we can just add right across. So we have 5/9. So your answer here is 5/9. All right, number 2, 4/6 plus 1/6. We have like denominators, so we can bring our denominator over, and then we can just add straight across. 4 plus 1 is 5. 5/6. 2/3 plus 1/5. All right, we don't have like denominators, and in this situation, I'm just going to multiply the denominators together to get my common denominator. And 3 times 5 is 15, so our denominator is going to be 15. So 3 times 5 here, do it to the top. So now we have 15, bring that down as our new denominator, and 5 times 2 is 10, plus 5 times 3 is 15, so 5 times 3, 1 times 3. And now we got 3/15, and we can just add straight across now. 10 plus 3 will give us 13/15. So our answer here is 13/15. All right, down on the bottom, 3/4 plus 1/3. All right, common denominator is, I'm going to multiply the denominators together to get my new denominator, or my common denominator, which is 12. Okay, so times 4, times 4, times 3, and times 3. So now we have 9/12 plus 4/12. And if we add those together, we get 13/12. Okay, so now we have an improper fraction, and I would like to turn it into a mixed number. So we can keep our denominator on the outside and divide 13 by 12. And we know 12 goes into 13 one time. We have 12. We're left with 1. So now, this is our whole number. Whole number here. This is our new numerator. And here is the denominator. Okay, so our answer would be 1 whole and 1/12. Okay, now we got mixed numbers. Okay, in this situation, I'm going to go ahead and erase this over here so I got a little room to work. we have 5 and 1/3 plus 6 and 2/5. Okay, so I'm going to break this apart. So we have 5 plus 1/3 plus 6 plus 2/5. And again, we do not have common denominators, so we need to create them. So 3 and 5, I know they both go into 15. So I will use 15 as my new denominator. Okay, so now how do I get to 15? I multiply this by 5 and the numerator by 5. So now we have 5 and 5/15 plus, this is times 3 plus 6, and 15 is our denominator, and the numerator is 6 as well. So now we can start with our whole numbers. So 5 plus 6 will give us 11. So we have 11 wholes, and then we can add the numerators of our fractions straight across. 5 plus 6 is 11. All right, so we got 11 and 11/15. All right, let's look at subtracting fractions. Subtracting fractions is exactly the same as adding fractions. We need to make sure that we have common denominators, and then when we have common denominators, we can just subtract the numerators. Denominators stay the same. Okay, so we have 4/5 minus 3/5. Okay, we have like denominators, so we can just subtract straight across, and 4 minus 3 will give us 1/5. And if we're thinking about just fifths, because that's what the size of our pieces, and we know if we have 4 of those and we take away 3 of them, we would have 1/5 left. Okay, example number 2, 9/16 minus 1/4. All right, we do not have common denominators, but I do know that 4 goes into 16 4 times. So I'm going to say we're going to have to multiply here by 4, multiply the numerator by 4, and now we have 9/16 minus 4/16. And now we can just subtract straight across, and 9 minus 4 is 5. Denominator stays the same. 9/16 minus 4/16 is 5/16. All right, mixed number. Here we go. 6 and 3/10 minus 1 and 4/5. All right, so again, we do not have common denominators, so we got to work to find some common denominators. And I know that 5 goes into 10 2 times, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 10 as my denominator, and now we will have 6 and 3/10 minus 1 and 8/10. Okay, now if we look at our numerators to subtract straight across, 3, you can't take away 8 from 3, so we need to borrow just like we would in regular subtraction. Okay, so the way I'm going to go through these steps is I'm going to move up here to the top. Okay, and I'm going to break 6 wholes. I'm going to break it into 5 plus 1 and 3/10 minus 1 and 8/10. Okay, and really what we need to do is borrow. And remember, when 1 is in fraction, the numerator and the denominator are the same. That equals 1. So if we want to borrow here, we're going to use tenths. So I'm going to say 5 plus 10/10 plus 3/10 minus 1 and 8/10. Okay, so now we just borrowed. We changed this 6 from over here into a 5 here. And now we can add these fractions together, 10/10 plus 3/10, and that'll give us 13/10, and it'll allow us to subtract. So now we have 5 plus 13/10 minus 1 and 8/10. Okay, now we're all set up and we can do our arithmetic. So let's start with the whole numbers. 5 minus 1 is 4. And then 13/10 minus 8/10 will give us 5/10. Okay, and then we can simplify 4 and then 5. 5, there's one group of 5 there, and in 10 there's two groups of 5. So if we pull out a 5, we would have 1/2. Okay, so our answer would be 4 and 1/2. Okay, so the most important thing to understand when we're working with mixed numbers and subtraction is that we understand that this equals 1. So if we take away, if we want to borrow, we need to borrow the same number of pieces as is our denominator. So in this situation it would be 10/10, which is equal to 1. Okay, go ahead and pause here, try these questions on your own, and come back and see how you did. 5/6 minus 1/6, or sorry, 5/6 minus 4/6. Our denominators are the same, so we can just bring that over. And 5 minus 4 is 1. So 5/6 minus 4/6 is 1/6. 5/9 minus 3/9, we have common denominators already of 9. And 5 minus 3 is 2. 17/8 minus 6/4. Okay, so we do not have common denominators, but I know that 4 goes into 8, so our denominator is going to be 8. So we have to multiply by 2. Now we have 17/8 minus 12/8, and that is equal to 5/8. Alright, so the answer here is 5/8. Alright, 2/5 minus 4/12. Well, 5 and 12 are not really easy numbers to find a common denominator, so I'm going to multiply them by each other. So 5 times 12 will give us 60. So our denominator is going to be 60. And I know that I needed to multiply 5 by 12. So we got to do it to the top. Okay, so now we have 24/60 minus, so this times 5. 4 times 5 is 20. So then now we have common denominators, we can subtract straight across. 24 minus 20 is 4/60. Okay, now we can simplify. I know that both these are even numbers, so we can divide by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 60 divided by 2 is 30. Well, we got even numbers again, so we can divide by 2 again. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 30 divided by 2 is 15. So our answer is going to be 1/15. Okay. You might not have simplified and kept it as 4/60, but for our answer is going to be 1/15 is the most simplified answer. Alright, I'm going to erase this so I can have some room to work on this last problem. 9 1/3 minus 4 3/4. Okay, we do not have common denominators, so I know 3 and 4 multiplied together will give us 12. So I'm going to use 12 as the new denominator. So we have 9 plus, actually let me do this up here. So times 4, and this is times 3. Okay, so now we have 9 plus 3/12 minus 4 plus 9/12. Okay, we have the same denominators, but the numerators we cannot subtract 9 from 3, so we got to borrow. So again, we can say 8 plus 1 plus 3/12 minus 4 plus 9/12. Okay, and we can change this 1 into 12/12, which would leave us, I'm running out of room, so I'm going to come over here. We have 8 plus 12 over 12 plus 3/12 minus 4 plus 9/12. Okay, and we can add these together so we are able to subtract. So then we'll have 15/12. So right up here, 8 plus 15/12 minus 4 plus 9/12. And now we can do our arithmetic. 8 minus 4 will give us 4 wholes, and then 15 minus 9 will give us 6/12, and we can simplify 4 and 1/2. Alright, thank you for watching.